You sat beside your mother at the dining table, clutching tightly onto the hem of her dress beneath the table, as a wave of nervousness washed over you. The weight of the constant gaze from the man sitting directly in front of you made your chest tighten. Jungkook's sharp, intense eyes were locked on you, and no matter how much you tried to avoid his gaze, the heat of his stare was almost obvious. You gulped, shifting slightly in your seat, hoping to calm your racing heart. Suddenly, your father cleared his throat, breaking the tense silence that had settled over the room. Min. Well, he began, glancing between you and Jungkook with an awkward smile. Why don't you just step out for a bit and get to know each other? Jungkook smirked, his lips curving in satisfaction at your father's suggestion. Meanwhile, your heart sank, alone with an unknown man. The thought alone made your palms sweaty. Jungkook stood up first, adjusting his blazer, waiting for you to follow. Nervously, you stumbled to your feet, clutching your purse tightly against your chest. You hesitated, thinking he would lead the way, but instead, Jungkook motioned for you to walk ahead. Jungkook, after you, he said smoothly, his voice deep and calm. You nodded quickly, avoiding his gaze as you walked ahead, feeling the weight of his presence behind you with every step you took. The quiet clack of your heels echoed in the hallway until you reached outside. The fresh evening air hit your face, but it did little to ease your nervousness. The two of you stopped near a small, secluded garden-like balcony outside the restaurant. For a moment, neither of you spoke. You fidgeted with the strap of your purse, racking your brain for something to say to break the silence. Just as you opened your mouth to speak, Jungkook's deep voice cut through the stillness. Jungkook, you're gorgeous. Your breath hitched, and you instinctively bit your lower lip, feeling the heat rush to your cheeks. Instead of thanking him, you bowed slightly, unable to form the words. Jungkook chuckled softly at your reaction, his eyes glinting with amusement. Jungkook, you're cute, he murmured, his smirk deepening. Then, tilting his head slightly, he added, so, tell me, are you agreeing to this marriage willingly, or is someone forcing you? Your brows furrowed at his words, and you looked up at him for the first time since you'd stepped outside. His question confused you. Was he being forced? You hesitated before asking softly, why, is someone forcing you to marry me? Jungkook's eyes widened slightly, caught off guard by your innocent question. He quickly shook his head. Jungkook, no, not at all. I was just making sure. He paused, his gaze softening, as he looked at you. I want to take care of you in the future. If you're not accepting this willingly, it would crush me to know I made my wife unhappy. His words were sincere, and for a moment, you felt the tension in your chest ease. You blinked up at him and nodded slowly. Jungkook noticed the way your fingers fidgeted with the hem of your dress and smiled gently. Jungkook, this is our first meeting, and in a few days, we'll be married, he said, stepping closer to you, closing the distance slightly. I want you to know me, to feel comfortable. I don't want you to have any regrets about marrying me. You nodded again, playing with the fabric of your dress as you avoided his gaze. Jungkook chuckled, mimicking your little nod in an exaggerated way, and you couldn't help but let out a small, nervous smile. Jungkook, you're quiet, he observed, leaning slightly closer. You don't want to say anything? You hesitated, feeling your face heat up as you struggled to come up with something to say. Finally, taking a deep breath, you asked in a soft voice, Yin, what kind of girls do you like? Jungkook raised an eyebrow, a sly smile tugging at his lips. The question seemed to amuse him, and he leaned back slightly against the nearby railing, his eyes studying you intensely. Jungkook, well, he began, his tone playful yet teasing. Someone who's shy, someone with pretty eyes. His gaze lingered on your eyes, making you instinctively look away, your heart hammering in your chest. Someone who's cute, he continued, stepping closer now, and someone who comes up to my shoulder. Your breath caught in your throat. You realized with a jolt that he was somehow describing you. You bit your lip nervously. Jungkook noticed your reaction and couldn't suppress his grin. Jungkook, and you? He asked, what's your type? Your mind raced. Should you describe him? You weren't sure what he wanted to hear, so you blurted out the first thing that came to your mind. Yin, handsome. Jungkook's smile widened, and he bit his lip, suppressing a laugh. Jungkook, but what if he's not handsome? He teased. Your brows furrowed, and without thinking, you replied bluntly, Yin, no you are handsome. The sudden honest confession caught him off guard, and for the first time, Jungkook blushed. He quickly looked away, rubbing the back of his neck as he nodded. Jungkook, and he pressed, recovering from his flustered state. Tell me more, Yin, and someone who listens to me, you admitted softly, glancing up at him. Yin, because, you hesitated, feeling the weight of his intense gaze on you. I'm a little shy, you continued, your voice barely above a whisper, and I can't express myself that well, so when sometimes I talk, I stutter or say things that don't make sense. You swallowed hard, feeling your anxiety peak, but when you looked up, you found him listening intently, his eyes focused solely on you. Yin, so, it's just that, people usually tell me to stay quiet or shut me up. Jungkook's expression darkened slightly at your words. He reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair behind your ear, his touch soft and comforting. Jungkook, that's such a shame, he murmured, his voice low, people refusing to hear such an angelic voice. Before you could respond, he extended his hand toward you, confused. You placed your hand in his. He slowly brought it to his chest, pressing your palm flat against his heart. Jungkook, say something, he urged softly. Yin, Jungkook, say my name, he said, his tone gentle yet firm. You hesitated, unsure of what he was trying to do. Slowly you muttered, Yin, Jungkook. Your eyes widened as you felt his heart thud violently against your palm, beating faster than before. Jungkook, you feel that's what's happening to me right now, he confessed, his gaze never leaving yours. Don't worry about anyone else, you speak beautifully. You swallowed hard, unable to tear your gaze away from him. Almost instinctively, you tilted your head and leaned closer, repeating softly, Yin, Jungkook. His heart raced again, and a small smile tugged at your lips. Yin, is this normal? You asked, looking up at him with wide, innocent eyes. Jungkook nodded, his own heart swelling at your curiosity. Jungkook, with you, it's normal. I feel good. So yes, it is. You smiled shyly, and for the first time, you felt a small sense of ease in his presence. Jungkook gently removed your hand from his chest, not wanting you to be worried about anything. He held it carefully in his own, as if afraid to let go. The two of you talked for a few more moments, your initial nerves slowly melting away under his warm, attentive gaze. When your parents called you back inside, Jungkook escorted you back, his hand lightly grazing your lower back, a silent promise of protection. As you parted ways that night, you felt a strange mixture of relief and anticipation. For the first time, the thought of marrying Jungkook didn't seem as terrifying as it once did. The days after the wedding seemed to blur together, and a pang of regret settled in your heart. You hadn't been as open with Jungkook as you wanted to be. He had tried so many times to break through your shy exterior, inviting you on dates, starting conversations, and making sincere efforts to get closer, but your reserved nature kept holding you back. Instead, your connection had mostly been built over short phone calls and the few moments you shared during family gatherings. But during those interactions, you learned about his world, his profession, and the weight of his responsibilities. Jungkook was a renowned cardiologist, a professional admired by many, and his schedule was demanding. Yet, no matter how busy he was, he always made time for you. That small but significant gesture made you feel guilty, wishing you could reciprocate his efforts as much as he deserved. Now, you sat beside him in his car after the wedding, the realization of being his wife sinking in deeper with every passing second. The drive was quiet, save for the gentle hum of the car engine. You kept your gaze out of the window, your hands nervously clasped in your lap. Jungkook noticed your unusual silence, glancing at you briefly, his brows furrowed in concern. Without a word, he reached over, his hand open and waiting. You hesitated at first, unsure if you should take it, but the warmth and reassurance in his gesture made you slowly place your trembling hand in his. He gently entwined his fingers with yours. Jungkook, are you feeling suffocated in your dress? He asked, his deep voice soft and full of care. You quickly shook your head, your voice barely above a whisper as you replied, Yin, I'm fine. His lips curled into a gentle smile, and he lifted your hand to his lips. His kisses were soft, lingering and deliberate, each one sending a shiver down your spine and making your cheeks flush. Jungkook, I'm so happy you're my wife now, he murmured, his gaze focused on your joined hands as if they were the most precious thing in the world. Your heart skipped a beat, but the guilt you'd been carrying rose to the surface. You lowered your gaze and spoke hesitantly. Yin, what is there to be happy about? I didn't even talk to you properly. I'm sorry. You must find me boring. Jungkook's eyes widened at your words, Before you could say anything more, he shook his head and interrupted. Jungkook, are you even serious right now? You avoided his gaze, turning your head further toward the window. But even as you looked away, your hand remained in his. Jungkook, baby, he called softly, his tone laced with affection and playfulness. The way he said the word made your heart race. You bit your lip, trying to suppress a smile, but your body betrayed you as the corners of your mouth twitched upward. Jungkook noticed, and a chuckle escaped his lips. Jungkook, you don't have to feel that way, baby, he said gently. I'm your husband now. It's not about how you feel about yourself. It's about how I see you. And I swear, every little conversation with you has been the best part of my days. You think you're boring. Let me tell you something. I'm bored when I'm not with you. His words made your heart skip a beat, and for a moment, you dared to meet his eyes. The warmth and sincerity in his gaze melted away some of your lingering doubts. You turned to look at him, your lips parting as you tried to respond. Yin, but your thoughts scattered, and you couldn't find the right words. Jungkook raised an eyebrow, waiting patiently, his thumb gently stroking the back of your hand. You felt a pang of embarrassment and quickly blurted out, Yin, thank you. Well, I just want to sleep now. He chuckled, the sound deep and rich as he focused back on the road ahead. Jungkook, sleep, okay, but sleep with me or, he teased, a playful smirk tugging at his lips. You blinked, your mind too innocent to catch the double meaning. Yin, we can sleep together. I don't have a problem with that, you said earnestly. His grip on the steering wheel tightened slightly as he fought the urge to laugh out loud. Your innocence was both endearing and maddening. Jungkook, you don't want to do something naughty with me? He asked, his tone teasing yet low enough to send a shiver down your spine. You froze, your eyes widening as his words sunk in. Yin, and naughty, but why? Jungkook clicked his tongue, a mischievous glint in his eyes as his thumb lazily stroked the back of your hand. Jungkook, baby, don't you know what newly married husbands and wives usually do on their first night? Your jaw dropped, the realization hitting you like a tidal wave. In all the nervousness and excitement of the wedding, you hadn't even considered this part of the tradition. Yin, I know obviously, you stammered, trying to play it cool, but the redness in your cheeks betrayed you. He smirked, leaning down to press another kiss to your hand. Jungkook, so, are we? Before he could finish, you quickly interrupted him, blurting out Yin, but we're not doing that. We're good husband and wife. We don't do this. Jungkook's laughter filled the car, rich and full of amusement. Jungkook, what's that supposed to mean now? You squirmed in your seat, your hands flailing slightly as you tried to explain. Yin, nothing. We're just going to sleep. Jungkook, that's what I'm asking. He teased, clearly enjoying this far more than he should. Do you want to sleep with me or, Yin? I want to sleep with you, you said quickly, then added in a small voice. But I don't want you to remove your clothes and sleep with me. Jungkook blinked at you, his amusement turning into sheer adoration. You were too cute to handle. Yin, we'll wear night suits, and then sleep, you added firmly, your tone almost like you were laying down ground rules. Jungkook bit his lip, trying to hold back his laughter. Jungkook, okay baby, as you say, he replied, his voice dripping with affection. He glanced at you once more, his heart swelling with love. He didn't know what to do with you. Your innocence and cuteness were going to be the death of him. For him, it didn't matter if you spent the night in his arms or on the other side of the bed. Just having you by his side was more than enough. But the way you blushed and squirmed under his teasing only made him fall for you more. The golden rays of morning filtered softly through the curtains, illuminating the room as you stirred awake. Your body felt heavy, yet there was a subtle warmth of comfort surrounding you. For a moment, you stayed still, letting the peaceful silence embrace you. But as you shifted slightly to sit up, a sharp tug in your lower abdomen made you wince. The pleasant haze of sleep vanished instantly, replaced by a gnawing discomfort. You frowned, unsure what was wrong, and as the sensation grew stronger, unease settled in your chest. You glanced around the room. It was empty. Jungkook wasn't there. Another dull ache rolled through your stomach, and as you moved your legs, a strange wetness made you freeze. Panic surged through you, and your eyes widened. Panic rushed through you as your heart started racing. Quickly, you moved to check the bed behind you, fearing the worst. Your shoulders sagged in relief when you saw the sheets were clean. Yin, thank God, you whispered to yourself, placing a hand on your chest to calm down. Without wasting another second, you grabbed your supplies from your suitcase and rushed into the bathroom. You felt shaky and flustered as you cleaned up, changing into fresh clothes. The cramps in your stomach were still mild, but you knew your body, it would get worse soon. After splashing some cold water on your face to steady yourself, you looked in the mirror. Your face was pale, and your eyes looked tired. With a small sigh, you left the bathroom. Once ready, you made your way downstairs, moving slowly as the mild pain in your stomach started to irritate. When you walked down to the stairs, the smell of freshly made breakfast greeted you. On the dining table, you found a plate of food covered neatly. Beside it was a small note. "I'm sorry, baby. I had to leave for an urgent emergency, but I'll be home soon. Love you. And don't forget to eat your breakfast." A small smile touched your lips as you read his words. Even though your stomach hurt, the warmth of his thoughtfulness comforted you. Sitting at the table, you uncovered the food and began eating. The pain in your abdomen hadn't gone away, but at least eating something distracted you for a while. As the day went on, the cramps in your stomach turned from mild to unbearable. By afternoon, you were curled up in bed, tears streaming down your face. You tried every remedy you could think of, painkiller, a heating pad, even drinking hot tea, but nothing worked. You bit your lip to stop yourself from crying too loudly. Jungkook had called you 3 times already to apologize for being late. Each time, you reassured him with a trembling voice, hiding the extent of your discomfort. "It's okay, Jungkook. Don't worry about me," you'd said earlier, your voice barely steady. But now, you couldn't hold back the sobs as the pain worsened. You tossed and turned, desperate to find a position that eased the agony, but nothing worked. Memories of your mother's harsh words echoed in your mind. "Stop being dramatic. It's just your period. Everyone goes through it." The thought made you bite your lip to suppress another sob. You didn't want Jungkook to think the same. What if he thinks I'm weak? What if he doesn't understand? "Yin, maybe I should call him," you whispered to yourself, your trembling hand reaching for your phone. But the fear of being judged stopped you. You rolled over onto your side, wincing as another cramp hit you like a wave. Desperation filled you, and you looked at your phone, and instead, you scrolled through your contacts and called Arya, the only person you trusted to help you in moments like this. Arya picked up after the first ring, her cheerful tone instantly shifting to concern when she heard your voice. "Arya." "Yin, what's wrong? Are you okay?" Her voice, full of concern, made you break down completely. "Yin, Arya, I can't. It hurts so much. I need to go to the hospital," you managed to say through your tears. "Arya, hospital?" she repeated, her voice sharp with worry, but she immediately figured out what was wrong with you. "Arya, where's Jungkook?" You sniffled, trying to control your emotions. "Yin, he's not home. He's at work. I didn't tell him," you admitted. "Arya, what? Why didn't you tell him?" she asked, sounding both confused and frustrated. "Yin, because," your voice cracked. "It's embarrassing, Arya. What if he thinks I'm weak? My mom always said I should handle it on my own." "Arya." "Yin, you're not weak," Arya said gently but firmly. "You're in pain, and that's valid. And Yin, Jungkook isn't your mom, he's your husband. He cares about you. You need to trust him." "Yin, I can't," you whispered, tears falling again. "Please, can you just take me to a hospital, Arya?" "Of course I will," she said firmly. "Send me your new address. I'll be there in 15 minutes. You nodded, even though she couldn't see you, and hung up the call. When Arya arrived, she rushed out of the car to help you. One look at your face, and she was instantly worried. As you sat in the passenger seat, clutching your stomach, you tried to hold back your tears. As you reached the hospital entrance, the pain in your abdomen felt unbearable, but you didn't have the energy to question Arya about the details. She handed you a small appointment slip with a reassuring smile. "Arya, we've got an emergency appointment with a gynecologist," Arya explained softly, her voice soft as she glanced at you with concern. "We just have to wait for a few minutes." You nodded weakly, not trusting your voice to speak. Your eyes wandered around the hospital lobby, searching for anything to distract yourself from the sharp, twisting ache in your lower stomach. People moved in and out of the waiting area, some chatting quietly, others looking anxious, but it all blurred together as your pain consumed your thoughts. Arya placed her hand gently on your back, rubbing it in slow, soothing circles. The warmth of her touch eased your tension slightly, and you let out a shaky breath. You leaned your head back against the cold wall behind you, your body slumping as you tried to gather your strength. Meanwhile, Jungkook was in his office, finally wrapping up a long and draining morning. He glanced at the clock, a sigh escaping his lips. Grabbing his phone, he scrolled to your name, his thumb hovering over the call button. It was the 10th time today that he'd tried to reach you, apologizing for his delay. Just as he was about to hit the call button again, a knock on his door made him pause. "Come in," he called out, placing his phone down on the desk. The door opened, and Dr. Lim, one of his senior colleagues, stepped inside. Jungkook raised an eyebrow in surprise. It wasn't often that Dr. Lim visited his office. "Jungkook, Dr. Lim," Jungkook greeted, getting up from his chair. "What brings you here, Lim?" "Jungkook," Dr. Lim began, his tone rushed. "I need a huge favor. Can you cover my wife's appointments for the rest of the day? I know you're probably about to leave, but it's an emergency." Jungkook frowned in confusion. "Why? What's going on?" Dr. Lim sighed, running a hand through his hair. "It's Mrs. Lim. She's been taking non-stop appointments for weeks without a break, and now she's completely worn out. I need to take care of her before it gets worse. She needs rest, and I can't ignore her health any longer." Jungkook's shoulders sagged slightly, his irritation replaced by understanding. He knew it was a reasonable request, and as a husband himself, he couldn't blame Dr. Lim for wanting to prioritize his wife. "Jungkook, fine," Jungkook said understandingly. "I'll take care of it." Relief washed over Dr. Lim's face. "Thank you, Jungkook. I owe you one. Double quotes. As Dr. Lim left, Jungkook dropped his phone onto the desk with a sigh. "Jungkook, guess I'll have to make Yin wait longer now," he thought regretfully. He couldn't refuse the request, even though he'd been looking forward to leaving for the day. Dr. Lim was not only his senior but also someone he respected deeply. Jungkook had initially started his career as a gynecologist. He was skilled and well regarded in the field, but over time, he realized his true passion lay in cardiology. The complexities and challenges of the heart fascinated him, and he made the shift despite the demanding learning curve. Still, his background in gynecology often brought him back to situations like this. Dr. Lim would occasionally call on him for help, knowing Jungkook's expertise. Though Jungkook found it inconvenient at times, he couldn't deny his senior's requests, especially when the situation was so personal. "Dr. Jeon, here's the next patient's file," she said, placing it on his desk. A nurse entered his office, holding a patient file. Jungkook nodded. He leaned back against his chair, opening the folder without much thought. His eyes scanned the document briefly before stopping dead on the name at the top. Min Yin. His breath hitched, and he stared at the file in disbelief. For a moment, he wondered if he was imagining things. Why would Yin be listed here? Before he could dwell on it further, a soft knock came at his door. "Jungkook, come in," he called, his voice quieter than usual. The door creaked open hesitantly, and your figure appeared in the doorway. The moment your eyes met, the world seemed to come to a standstill. Jungkook stood abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor as his expression shifted from surprise to concern. "Jungkook baby," he said, his voice filled with disbelief. What are you doing here?" You froze in place, your hand clutching the door handle as though it were your lifeline. Panic swirled in your chest, your thoughts racing uncontrollably. "Why is he here? This is impossible. He's a cardiologist, not a gynecologist. This has to be some sort of mistake." Your breath hitched, and your mind scrambled to find a way out. Jungkook's piercing gaze didn't waver, only deepening your sense of unease. Forcing a shaky smile, you blurted, "Yin, I just came to see you." Jungkook's brows furrowed, sensing something off, but before he could respond, you stammered awkwardly, "Yin, now that I have, so, bye." You spun around and bolted out of the room, slamming the door shut behind you with trembling hands. Jungkook stared at the door in stunned silence, his heart pounding. The name on the report, your pale face, your rushed exit, it all clicked in an instant. "Jungkook, Yin," he called, grabbing the file from his desk and rushing after you. You were walking briskly, trying to escape as quickly as possible. The moment you stepped outside, you paused to catch your breath, your chest rising and falling heavily. Arya noticed your pale face and worried eyes, but froze when her gaze shifted behind you. Her eyes widened as she spotted Jungkook approaching with long, determined strides. His expression was unreadable, dark eyes locked on you, and his jaw tight. Before you could react, you felt his hand wrap firmly around your wrist, halting your steps and sending a jolt through your body. It felt like all the blood in your veins had frozen. Slowly, you turned to face him, your nervous gaze meeting his intense one for a split second before you quickly averted your eyes, lowering your face to avoid his piercing stare. "Yin, I'm sorry for disturbing you during work hours," you mumbled, your voice barely above a whisper. Jungkook's eyes narrowed slightly, his grip on your wrist tight yet gentle. Jungkook, Yin, he said, his voice low and controlled. Arya, standing nearby, looked between the two of you with wide eyes. Arya, disturb him, she echoed in satisfied. Yin, stop lying, tell him the truth. Jungkook's gaze softened as he slowly kept a hand under your chin and made you look up at him. He noticed at your pale face and tired eyes. His heart ached seeing you like this, and he couldn't understand why you were running away from him or what had been going on that made you feel the need to appoint a gynecologist without telling him. Arya, she's been in so much pain, Arya explained, her tone urgent. Her cramps are unbearable. I suggested she talk to you, but she refused because she didn't want to bother you. It's good that we ran into you here. We actually didn't even know where you worked. Jungkook's jaw tightened as he processed Arya's words, his dark eyes flickering to your pale face. His heart ached seeing you like this, and he felt a pang of guilt for not being there when you needed him most. Jungkook, thank you Arya, for bringing her here. I'll take care of her from now on, he assured, his tone steady but laced with gratitude. You can go now. I've got it. Arya hesitated for a moment, looking between the two of you. She gave Jungkook a small nod, her lips curling into a faint smile. Arya, okay then I'll leave. You kept your eyes fixed on the ground, your body tense as you avoided his gaze. Jungkook's hand gently cupped your face, his touch warm and comforting, his thumb brushing against your cheek. Jungkook, I've been calling you again and again, and you avoided talking to me, he said, his voice low but full of concern, his eyes searching yours. Is it because you didn't want to burden me with something so simple? Or is it because you're embarrassed? Embarrassed to show me your pain? His eyes were filled with hurt, but they were also searching, desperate for you to open up. Your lips trembled, and your tears threatened to slip as the weight of the situation overwhelmed you. You both stood so close that his hands instinctively shifted, cradling the sides of your face and brushing your hair back toward your ears. Yin, I was embarrassed, you whispered, your voice breaking as a sob escaped your mouth. It was too much now, the pain, the way you got caught, and the tenderness in his tone. You pouted, your tears falling uncontrollably as you leaned forward and rested your forehead against his chest. His shirt grew damp with your tears, but Jungkook didn't flinch. Instead, he kissed the top of your head gently, his lips lingering for a moment as he silently reassured you. Jungkook, it's okay baby, he murmured soothingly, his voice like a warm blanket wrapping around you. Sneaking his hands under your face, he wiped your tears softly as you were looking down, not forcing you to show your face, but desperate to provide comfort. His heart clenched at the sound of your crying, and his chest tightened with a mix of emotions. He wanted to take all your pain away. Jungkook, come here. Slowly, Jungkook guided your trembling arms around his shoulders, his strong arms wrapped under you effortlessly, lifting you into his embrace. You clung to him as he carried you back toward his cabin. Jungkook, I've got you now. Relax. Jungkook sat down gently on his chair, pulling you into his lap with ease. Your sobs were uncontrollable, your face buried in the crook of his neck as you clung tightly to his collar, hiding your embarrassment. His warmth surrounded you, making it impossible not to melt into his comforting embrace. He couldn't help the small smile tugging at his lips, even as he felt your trembling body against his. Jungkook, was it really that hard to call your husband when you were in so much pain? He wasn't angry, but the gentle scolding in his tone made your heart squeeze. You didn't answer, too embarrassed to lift your head. Instead, you tightened your hold on him, your fingers curling into his collar as if afraid he might pull away. Jungkook let out a quiet chuckle, his chest rumbling softly against you. Jungkook, ah, my big baby, he murmured, his tone dripping with affection. He adjusted you more securely in his arms, his hand moving to rub slow, soothing circles on your lower back. You love me, don't you? He whispered, his lips brushing lightly against your ear. You nodded weakly, unable to speak through your hiccuping breaths. A small smile tugged at his lips as he felt you nod against him. He leaned his cheek against the side of your head, his touch and words working together to calm you. Jungkook, that's my girl, he whispered, his tone so gentle it felt like a lullaby. Minutes passed, the sound of your sobs gradually fading into quiet sniffles. Jungkook's hand never stopped its soothing motion, and his whispered reassurances melted away the tension in your body. When your breathing finally steadied, he leaned forward, reaching for the glass of water on the table without disturbing you. Jungkook, here, drink this, he said softly, holding the glass up to your lips. You didn't move away from his shoulder, still nestled against him as you obediently took small sips. His free hand gently pushed your hair back, tucking stray strands behind your ear. He smiled as you finished the water, setting the glass aside before brushing his thumb over your lips to wipe away any droplets. Jungkook, feeling a little better now? He asked, his voice still soft, but the concern in his eyes lingered. You nodded, finally pulling back just enough to meet his gaze. His hands immediately found your face, cupping your cheeks. His thumbs moved in slow, tender motions, wiping away the traces of tears. Jungkook, now, he began, his tone coaxing. Tell me, what did you do all day? And when and where did it exactly started hurting? You hesitated, your eyes dropping to your lap as you fidgeted with the fabric of his shirt. Slowly, you began to explain, your voice barely above a whisper. You told him about the cramps that had started earlier in the day, how they had worsened as the hours passed, and how you had tried to push through the pain. Your words stumbled as you spoke about how long you had been dealing with this, how it had been the same since your teenage years. Yin, and my mom. Your voice faltered, and you took a shaky breath before continuing. She always said it's normal, that every girl deals with this and that I should just learn to handle it. That's why I was embarrassed to tell you. I thought, what if you thought the same? Jungkook's jaw tightened slightly, his eyes darkening with a mix of guilt and frustration. Not at you, but at the thought of you enduring this alone. Yin, it's not that I didn't try, you added, your voice cracking. But the pain, it doesn't go away. It's so hard for me. Jungkook. He didn't say anything at first, his hands still cradling your face as his thumbs brushed over your cheeks. Slowly, he leaned in, his forehead coming to rest against yours. His breath was warm against your skin as he closed his eyes, letting the silence speak for him for a moment. Jungkook, I'm here now, he finally whispered, his voice steady and full of reassurance. You'll never have to go through this alone again. Yin. He pressed a soft kiss to your forehead, lingering there for a moment before pulling back just enough to nudge his nose against yours. The small gesture made your heart ache in a way that was so comforting. Jungkook, promise me, he said quietly, his tone leaving no room for argument. Promise me you'll never hide anything from me again, no matter how small or embarrassing you think it is. You nodded, your eyes still locked with his, but he wasn't satisfied. Jungkook, I want words, darling. Say it, he insisted gently. Yin, I promise. Jungkook, you stammered, your voice breaking slightly as you spoke. I'll never hide anything from you again. A soft smile curved his lips, and he tilted his head, his pout playful. Jungkook, good, he murmured, but you could seal it with a kiss. Your cheeks flushed, a small smile breaking through your embarrassment as you looked at him. Yin, you want a kiss? You asked shyly. His hand slipped under your top boldly, his warm fingers brushing against your bare waist. The unexpected touch sent a shiver through you, and you leaned towards his shoulders lightly, making him chuckle. Jungkook nodded urgently, his pout deepening as his gaze flickered between your eyes and lips. His hands roamed, fingers brushed lightly against your skin, sending a shiver down your spine. You bit your lip in response, your heartbeat quickening as his fingers reached the tip of your toying with it in slow, deliberate movements. The tension between you was electric. Your eyes fluttered closed, letting the sensation sink into your very core. Slowly, you leaned in, your breaths mingling, your lips only a whisper away from his. But just as you were about to close the gap, you paused, a teasing smile tugging at your lips. Yin, do you really want a kiss? Jungkook's lips parted, his breath hitching at your question. His voice, low and strained, carried the weight of his desperation. Jungkook, yes. Your lips curved into a sly smile, your voice barely a whisper as you taunted him further. Yin, a kiss hum. Are you sure? He chuckled softly, though the tension in his voice betrayed his growing impatience. His fingers, which had been resting idly on your back, began to trace light patterns along your spine. The gentle pressure made your cheek as he leaned closer. Jungkook, don't me, just do it. His hands around to the front of your body, his warm palm one of your from under your shirt. The action was both bold and tender, causing a sharp to escape your. You flew in his arms, your cheeks flushing a deep shade of red. Yin, Jungkook, a smirk played on his lips, his confidence growing as he met your gaze. Jungkook, are you going to kiss me, or not? You couldn't help but laugh, your hands reaching up to cup his face. The tension melted slightly as you studied him. His lips parted and his eyes filled with unspoken desire. Yin, all right, I'll do it now. Happy? He nodded eagerly, his eyes fluttering shut as he waited, completely at your mercy. His hand remained boldly and on your chest. And for a moment, you just stared at him, vulnerable, eager, and entirely under your spell. Heat rushed through your body as you finally closed the distance, your lips parting to capture his slow kiss. Jungkook's response was immediate. His lips moved against yours with equal hunger, a low vibrating from his chest. His hands explored shirt, sending jolts of electricity through your body. The kiss deepened, becoming and more urgent as the seconds passed. He tilted his head to deepen the angle, and his slipped past your lips, exploring you with a mix of gentleness and need. You clung to him, your hands tangling in his hair as the world around you faded away. Suddenly, you felt a soft tug at your back, and the realization hit you like a jolt, and you pulled back abruptly, your chest heaving as you stared at him in shock. Yin, and no Jungkook. His eyes widened in realization, his cheeks tinged red as he stammered, his hands freezing in place. Jungkook, I am sorry. I didn't mean to. I got carried away. You swallowed hard, your face burning, as you reached for his hand and guided it back up. Yin, just back. He nodded quickly, fumbling with the as he muttered to himself, Jungkook, I'm trying. Okay, turn around for a second, please. He gently turned you in his arms, as he lifted his shirt slightly to see what he was doing. His fingers worked clumsily at first, and you couldn't help but stifle a small laugh at his struggle. Yin, Jungkook, hurry up. He let out a soft chuckle, his warm breath brushing against your shoulder. Jungkook, got it, done. But before you could turn back around, you felt his lips press softly against the bare skin, just below, igniting a fire within you. The unexpected kiss sent a shiver through your body, and your hands table in front of you for support. He didn't there. His lips trailed up, slow and deliberate. He kissed the curve of your his hands stuck under your this time both of your with a gentle but firm you let out a shaky breath, your head falling back against his shoulder as his lips found the spot just below you. Jungkook, you're so beautiful, he murmured, his voice low and full of adoration. His words made your heart race, and you couldn't help but smile weakly as his lips he lingered there until the faint turned into a sweet. The kiss ended with a soft, and he pressed one final kiss to your shoulder before whispering against your skin, Jungkook, you drive me crazy, you know that? Your only response was a soft sigh, completely lost in the haze of his touch, your body melting into his as he held you close. Your heart raced, the sound of his steady breathing in your ear as Jungkook finally stopped his teasing touches and buried his face into the curve of your neck. The warmth of his skin against yours sent a soothing shiver through your body. Slowly, his hands slid out from under your top. He hugged you closer, his chest rising and falling against your back. He wrapped his arms tightly around you, pulling you closer, his chin resting lightly on your shoulder, his chest pressed against your back as you both melted into the moment. Jungkook, I hope I managed to ease your pain, he murmured softly. A small chuckle escaped your lips as you relaxed into his hold, letting your body melt completely against his. Then, breaking the silence, you tilted your head slightly and asked, curiosity lacing your tone. Yin, but wait, weren't you a cardiologist? How did I end up being appointed to you? He smiled against your shoulder, pressing a soft kiss to your bare skin before answering. Jungkook, it's because of Dr. Lim. He's my senior, and his wife, your assigned gynecologist, is sick. He asked me to take over her patients temporarily. You furrowed your brows, turning in his arms just enough to meet his gaze with a playful pout. Yin, but that still doesn't make sense. People's hearts aren't in their vaginas. Jungkook, you're still a cardiologist. He let out a rich, hearty laugh, his head tilting back slightly as he shook his head at your bluntness. His eyes sparkled with amusement as he looked at you, a teasing smirk tugging at his lips. Jungkook, well, technically speaking, I started my career as a gynecologist, but I didn't find it exciting enough, so I switched to cardiology. Simple as that. You blinked at him, your lips parting in surprise before a playful smile spread across your face. Yin, wow, you're seriously multi-talented. Is there anything you can't do? He grinned proudly, puffing out his chest in mock arrogance before leaning closer to you. Tilting his head, he pointed to his cheek, his tone suddenly playful. Jungkook, if you think so, then show some appreciation. How about a kiss right here? You squinted at him playfully, your hand darting up to deliver a light slap to his cheek instead. His eyes widened in mock surprise, as he suddenly laughed at your surprised act. Jungkook, what was that for, madam? Yin, that's for making me cry earlier, you jerk. He gasped dramatically, his hand flying to his chest as if you had wounded him. Jungkook, me, baby? What did I even do? How did I make you cry? Ignoring his playful protests, you turned back around and buried your face into his neck, letting his familiar scent comfort you once again. He sighed, shaking his head with a smile before wrapping his arms tightly around you, pressing a soft kiss to the top of your head. Jungkook, you're absolutely crazy. You know that? You hummed softly against his neck, a small, content smile tugging at your lips. Jungkook carefully brushed your hair back, his eyes soft as he studied your face. His gentle voice broke the silence. Jungkook, now that you're feeling a little better, we need to run some tests, okay? Your heart skipped a beat, panic instantly flashing in your eyes. You stiffened slightly, your mind racing at the mention of tests. Yin, tests? What kind of tests? He raised an eyebrow, his tone calm and reassuring as he replied. Jungkook, the test to figure out what's causing you so much pain, the reason you came to see a gynecologist in the first place, right? You gulped nervously, your lips parting to protest, but the reassuring look in his eyes stopped you. He could sense your hesitation without you saying a word. With a sigh, Jungkook moved closer, scooping you up into his strong arms. You gasped softly, instinctively holding on to him as he carried you into the private examination room, his movements smooth and careful. Yin, Jungkook, no, I'm fine. I don't need any tests, please. Gently laying you down on the soft, padded bed, he knelt beside you, brushing his lips across your forehead. Jungkook, Yin baby, we can't ignore this. I need to know what's causing all this pain. I promise I'll be gentle, and it won't take long. Your brows furrowed as you turned your face away, your nerves eating away at your resolve. Yin, but I'm scared. He cupped your face, coaxing you to look at him again. His tone softened even more, the warmth in his voice like a balm to your anxiety. Jungkook, do you trust me? Trust your husband to take care of you? You hesitated, but nodded slowly, your eyes watering slightly. Yin, I do, but this is different. Jungkook, it'll be over in a blink, I swear. Just focus on me, okay? Standing, Jungkook walked to a nearby cupboard, retrieving a clean medical gown. He unfolded it and brought it back to you, his calm presence reassuring despite your nerves. Jungkook, here, let me help you. You sat up straight as he knelt in front of you, his hands moved with care, slowly lifting your top over your head. His gaze remained calm and respectful, yet his gentleness made you feel safe. After buttoning the front of the gown, he paused when it came time to remove your pants. You instinctively grabbed his hands, your voice trembling. Yin, but I'm bleeding a lot. It's going to make such a mess. His lips curved into a small, understanding smile. Jungkook, baby, that's exactly why we're doing this. It's okay, it's just me. You don't have to feel embarrassed. His reassurance melted a little of your resistance, and you hesitantly allowed him to help you out of your lower garments. He was slow and deliberate, making sure you were comfortable every step of the way. Once you were fully undressed beneath the gown, he helped you lie back on the bed, adjusting your legs onto the stirrups. Your heart pounded wildly, your hands gripping the edges of the bed as you tried to calm yourself. Yin, Jungkook, I'm scared. He leaned over you, his hands gently cupping your face as he placed a soft kiss on your temple. Jungkook, I know baby, but I'm right here. I promise it won't hurt. You just have to trust me and relax. Can you do that for me? You nodded slightly, though the tightness in your chest didn't ease entirely. His touch was feather light as he adjusted the gown to expose just enough for the examination. You felt vulnerable, yet oddly reassured, knowing this wasn't just your doctor, it was your husband. Jungkook, you're beautiful, he murmured, almost to himself. Your cheeks flushed as you bit your lip, trying to ignore the embarrassment creeping up your spine. Jungkook put on a pair of gloves, his movements efficient yet gentle. With a tissue in hand, he carefully removed your his eyes scanning the area with a critical, professional gaze. You winced slightly at the sensation, and he immediately soothed you. Jungkook, it's okay. Love, you're doing so well. He applied a small amount of lubricant to his gloved fingers, his eyes flicking up to meet yours. Jungkook, all right, sweetheart, I'm going to now. Take a deep breath for me, okay? You nodded nervously, following his instructions and inhaling deeply. As you exhaled, you felt his finger, and he gently began to inside. The sensation was unfamiliar, and you tensed slightly, but his other hand rested on your lower, grounding you. Jungkook, relax baby. Just breathe. You're doing amazing. He pressed lightly on and as his fingers moved cautiously, exploring with care. Jungkook, tell me if it hurts anywhere, alright? You nodded, your breath's uneven. When his fingers pressed against a particular, you flinched, letting out a sharp gasp. He immediately paused, concern etched into his features. Jungkook, here. Your voice was barely above a whisper. Yin. Why yes. He nodded, his movements slow and deliberate as he continued to check the area with precision. After a few more moments, he gently withdrew his fingers and removed his gloves, leaning forward to press a soft kiss to your knee. Jungkook, good girl, you did so well. He cleaned the area with care before handing you a fresh pad. Jungkook, here, love, go ahead and change, and I'll help you get dressed. Once you were ready, he helped you off the bed and kissed your forehead. You clung to him, your arms wrapping tightly around his waist as you buried your face in his stomach. He chuckled softly, his hands rubbing soothing circles on your back. Jungkook, it's okay now, I love you. You'll be fine, baby. I'll make sure of it. Jungkook sat beside you, his brows furrowed in concentration, as he typed on his laptop, compiling your reports. His expression was calm but focused, and you could sense he was piecing together a possible diagnosis. Yin, what does all this mean? He glanced at you briefly, a soft smile tugging at his lips, before he turned his attention back to the laptop. Jungkook, it looks like it might be endometriosis. I'm not completely sure yet, but it's a strong possibility. You blinked, trying to process the unfamiliar term. Closing the laptop gently, he placed it aside and reached for your hand, holding it firmly. Jungkook, it's treatable. For now, I'll prescribe a few medicines to help manage the pain and inflammation. Once the symptoms improve, I'll need to run more tests to confirm. You nodded quietly, your nerves still lingering. Without another word, Jungkook leaned in, his lips brushing gently against yours in a tender, reassuring kiss. The warmth of his touch melted away some of your unease, grounding you in the moment. As he pulled back, his eyes softened. Jungkook, I promise you'll be fine, Yin. We'll handle this together. Later, as you sat beside him in the car, your nerves finally eased. You leaned over and nudged his arm playfully. Yin, let's stop and eat something. I'm starving. He glanced at you, a smile spreading across his face as his hand reached over to rest on yours. Jungkook, whatever my lady wants. Let's go fill your tummy. His light-hearted tone made you smile, and for the first time that day, you felt a sense of peace wash over you. Even in the most vulnerable moments, you knew you were safe and cherished in his care.